Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. I want to remind y'all that if you comment and you are spoiling something beyond what I've watched in that video, you want to protect others from the spoiler and myself, if I'm looking at the comments, by using the various techniques. Let's watch.
Look at us building trust together.
How'd you know about Jordan?
Because I'm a fucking smart guy over here. What do you mean?
Mike,
Tick, column, brag, narcissism.
tell me.
It's just obvious. I almost wasn't going to say anything, but I just didn't want to mess around anymore.
And just think about what he's communicating, and we know better. It's obvious. Why phrase it that way? Yeah, so with narcissistic people, which I have no idea if he is, and I'm being honest about that. When I diagnose people with narcissistic personality disorder, even in my mind, as a tentative label, I will assess people in my office for weeks, if not months. I have the opportunity to ask them a lot of questions, blah, blah, blah. Watching these, the amount of data that I get watching a reality TV show, it is different data that I wouldn't get in my office because they're in the real world, But I would say, at least at this point, the amount of data that I'm getting is on the level of a few minutes of the first session, which isn't months of working with someone. Anyway, so I'm not just saying that to be coy or to evade lawsuits or whatever, but I will say that, let's rewind this because I sort of forgot what I was reacting to.
Mike, tell me.
It's just obvious. I almost wasn't going to say anything, but I just didn't want to mess around anymore.
Right. So he is in the lounge and Jordan comes in and says, "Oh my God, I'm in love and this is really great." And I don't know if I showed the scene, but he laughed. He looked over at Patrick and he's like, "Triangle." And Patrick was like, "Oh, so you're dating the same person that Jordan is?" And Mike was not announcing it to the crowd, which is fine. But he was smiling really big, and I think that's his defense. I don't know that, obviously. Now, is it normal to smile in a situation like that? Yeah, but I think especially seeing his demeanor here. And now I think he's getting at his attitude and his approach. He's at least hinting at an aggression, at a hostility. I don't want to mess around anymore. See, now we trust each other. What are you talking about that you trust each other? You're not supposed to talk about those specifics, or at least it's not the standard. Everyone knows that people are dating multiple people. He knew that, I think, from the past, or at least it wasn't explicitly stated. He could be dating other people too, and Megan might not have asked about that. Who knows? And so he's like, okay, well, now we've built trust back. Trust? How is trust? So my point is that with narcissistic people, which I don't know if he is that humiliation can often be a major trigger. And I say trigger in the PTSD sense, in the trauma sense, that there's different flavors of narcissistic personality, but a common flavor, if you will, is that they have the kinds of traumas that they interpret it anyway as deeply humiliating. Whether it was older siblings and parents that would frequently make fun of the younger kid, or it just felt humiliating to go to school and watch other people seemingly have parents that liked them or paid attention to them or something. And when they have a hint of humiliation, they will be massively triggered and their narcissistic defense will really come forward. And I don't know if that's what we're seeing.
Out of the equation for once, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just scary.
All right, so 2 reactions. One, I'm glad that we're seeing a vulnerable side of Megan. Not that we need her to cry or anything, but she's been seemingly a little cut off from expressing. I think she's feeling a lot of things, but she doesn't seem to be expressing it or feel like it's okay or something. I don't think Mike is the best person to express this to, but I think it's a healthy sign that she's able to feel these feelings. She's talking about how her past relationships didn't go well and that Mike reminds her of these past guys that she was with. And so on one hand, it's like, well, we're each other's types, but maybe I shouldn't be going for you. And this is a common conundrum that we'll see on the show. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to say was that I think, and I don't know if I showed this footage, but Mike, when it was made known to him in the lounge that he might be not the only one that Megan is connecting with, that Mike, at least in the one-on-one interviews or their statements or facial expressions, that he would be saying, I don't have anything to worry about because obviously, I mean, I'm Megan's number one. Now, maybe he had good reason to believe that. I think that in the past, Megan would have said that Mike was above Jordan because he was. She said basically that, but she had Blake as her number one, right? I have to keep all these people straight here. So Megan had, so Blake ghosted. And I say that because up until the point when Jordan came into the lounge just before this and said, oh my God, I'm in love and we're really connecting, Mike either had reason to believe or was convincing himself because of his defenses that he obviously is superior to the other competition, to Blake and to Jordan. And in this moment, when Jordan comes in, he has to reckon with the possibility that not only is he number two, but he could have been number three.
It's completely possible for you to have all of that and, avoid some of those negative things that you don't need in your life. And I'm not perfect. I absolutely do not think I'm perfect. And I constantly criticize myself and think I should be doing better on a lot of things. And All
right. This is a good sign. He's able to relax. I think because she is exhibiting vulnerability and that she cares, he has empathy for her, but also this might help him to feel like she is willing to open up to him, which makes him feel reassured that he's not inferior necessarily. And so with that, he doesn't need the defense to be hostile or to act like he's joking when he's really attacking or whatever. And so he's opening up. So if he is on some sort of personality spectrum, it might not be at the upper end, which would make sense given the presentation anyway. And so when things are more secure, then he can kind of relax. But let's rewind what he said here, because I think it is kind of interesting.
And I'm not perfect. I absolutely do not think I'm perfect. And I constantly criticize myself. And
so with narcissistic people, which I'm not saying he is, and I'm being honest about that, they will very much criticize themselves. It's one of the central features because of the way they were treated growing up, whether direct criticism, constant criticism, or they were just generally neglected and harmed. So it felt critical in essence, if only they were better, they wouldn't be treated this way. And so, the constant voice. And for people at the upper end of the spectrum, they won't even be able to accept that they criticize themselves consciously. They won't be able to recognize they're criticizing themselves. And they definitely wouldn't be able to admit it to other people, because that's admitting you have a flaw. And if you have a flaw, then you might be inferior. They're in a constant battle between superior, and that's the only two options. If you're not superior, then you're inferior and you're worthless. So for him to say that is a sign of emotional health, that he can say, I'm not perfect, I criticize myself, but it could be an indication that he's on the spectrum and that he has an unfair internalized voice that is constantly telling him that he's a piece of shit. And his defenses are trying to defend against that voice.
I think I should be doing better on a lot of things, and I definitely need to do that as well. But with you, I just lean on, it's not like I'm picking one thing. It's we have similar backgrounds, we have similar ambition, we are both badasses. I just thought it was a pipe dream for me to just fucking be a power couple, find.
It's so interesting. In his vulnerability, and I think he's being honest here, he is expressing something that he had expressed in essence before. Like when he was talking about having kids, he's like, oh, my kids are gonna eat really healthy. I think there's a new focus for, the shallow people of the world, where it's sort of health narcissism in a sense, where to exhibit that you're better, superior, special, you have the best health regimen. Of course, we understand that isn't unheard of, but I feel like there's a new brand of it or something. It's not just bling and money and cars and that sort of thing. It's like you have the perfect health thing because of the emphasis of a culture. When people have a defense that they need to be superior, they're just going to look to the culture and look where they could kind of fit in to figure out how they could establish superiority, even unconsciously to themselves anyway. But just listen to the way, let's rewind it. Listen to the way he phrases this. Power couple, right? If this was all that he said, I'd be like, hey, just power couple. But that is how it looks, image, right? Not only just an admirable couple, but a power couple, like famous rich people, that sort of thing. Let's rewind.
We have similar backgrounds, we have similar ambition, we are both badasses. I just thought it was a pipe dream for me to just fucking be a power couple, like find that person where I could have that.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that even if he is on the spectrum of narcissism, that doesn't mean that he's being fake or shallow. Everything gets filtered through that defense, that you have a need for attachment. People with narcissistic personality have one of the deepest needs for attachment because they've never had it, and they really deny themselves the vulnerability that fosters that, and they deny themselves to the opportunity to seek relationships. They're pathologically independent typically, even when they're in a relationship. So they are very deprived individuals. So they need it. They want it. It's a primordial or a primitive or a childish approach because they are trying to get the attachment that they didn't get when they were growing up. So their romantic relationships are a little muddled and confused because they're trying to find a mommy. And we're all trying to find a mommy to some extent, but when you're 90% trying to find a mommy, then things don't usually work out, Anyway, and so the need gets filtered through that, and instead of the way that we might normally hear people on this show talk, it gets filtered through the narcissism of like power couple. I always, what he's basically saying is I've always wanted that companionship. That this is my phrasing. And I gave up a long time ago. He's saying, I thought it was a pipe dream that I could ever have that companionship. That's my word. But it gets filtered through his defenses, his way of thinking. And instead of companionship or love or togetherness, it's badasses, it's rich, it's power couple, it's very successful, looking good in an outfit, having these prestigious jobs, being health narcissistic, everyone's envious. When he talked about having kids, he talked about, I'm going to have the most healthy and most beautiful kids around. It's all image.
I don't know, maybe this is like the kick in the ass that I needed to be able to put it out there to you. I also don't want to just sit here and pour my heart out to you and look like an idiot.
Right. No one wants that, but his phrasing, context, other things he said seems to indicate that deep down he thinks of himself as an idiot, or he has been treated that way. And so that's what he's focusing on. Everyone in his shoes would not want to look like an idiot. Again, image, right? And everyone in his shoes would feel a little uncertain or scared because he is vulnerable right now for the first time, and laying it all out there of just like, I think you could be the one. He's essentially saying that through his way of saying things, right? Power couple, this kind of. And so everyone had, but again, that language and the words that he uses. Now, I want to be clear that when I conceptualize and when I have a formulation of a client of various different things, including a personality disorder, I'm not looking at those kinds of wordings because people mean different things by the words they use. Sometimes it's just like the world that they live in or the kinds of words that they hear around them or what they grew up with or something. It's important with phenomenology that you investigate those words. So I don't have this opportunity, so I can't know, but I'm taking a lot of leaps, not to say anything about him, but to provide an example for y'all so that you can understand how personality works.
They just need time.
Who are you?
This is a situation that people find themselves in on the show. I'm wondering how he's going to deal with this. I could see him ghosting. I could see him breaking up with her now. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and he will say, well, good things are worth waiting for. and I'm just gonna wait. Now, he could logically conclude that he is likely number two, if not a distant number two, given what he heard from Jordan, given the way that she's reacting here. I think it might be a mistake because Megan, I don't think she wears her heart on her sleeve, so she could have Mike as a very close number two. But I think it would be logical to conclude, if you're Mike, that there's a chance that there is no chance with Megan, because Megan's not fighting right now for like, hey, I just want to tell you, da 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 da. She doesn't have to do that, but often people will if someone's in the running, But there's a possibility that he is in the running, but Megan just isn't really great at communicating that, and he certainly isn't making it easier.
You're good. You're totally fine. Don't worry about it.
I see through, I know where you've been.
And I mean that.
Yeah.
Okay, she was doing this kind of rolling her eyes. At least that's the way it looked. So I wonder what that means. Does that mean that she is saying, oh, he is like my exes, where they act tough when they're not actually tough, or they can't stand being number two or something? I don't know.
Honestly, get some sleep. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
I will say that it's good that he's being nice about it, but there's a kind of a message of just like, look, I'm good. Like, I don't know. I'm probably reading it verbatim. This is a nice gesture, but it could be communicated, it could be received that he is saying, I don't need this stuff. This is, because he was vulnerable, and then she didn't really respond in a way that was very reassuring to him, which is fine. And he's just like, whatever. It's sort of like you walk across the room to ask someone to dance at a high school dance, and she is like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little tired right now. And you say, I didn't want to dance with you anyway. It kind of has that look to it, right?
It's part of the problem.
Do kids still go to dances? I have a feeling that they don't. Because that was my teenage life in the 80s, is you would literally walk across the gym and ask someone to dance. Do people still do that?
Yes. I don't fault you in any way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that look on her face, if it was that kind of roll eyes. She's not actually rolling her eyes, but it's in that category. And then seeing that again, I'm wondering what she's thinking, but I think what she's thinking is, what is up with this guy that he would act so flippant? Or is this him trying to get back at me? Or, oh, he is just like these other guys? Or why is he so off-put by the fact that I have two people on my list? I think that's what's going on with her.
Get some sleep. Have a good night.
And I will say that if we're hypothesizing something here, that since he couldn't establish security and superiority, that he has to get away. He can't sit in that space. I say that because that would be the smart move, the move that would raise the chance of getting her to be with him, is to have a date, to stick around, to bond. And he's potentially shooting himself in the foot. He might really, really want Megan. He might really, really want to be with her. And as I've been saying, when you are on some sort of personality disorder spectrum, you will, in your defense, your defensive structure will absolutely harm yourself. For narcissistic people, they will push people away with the way they act, or they will reject others before they get rejected, even though they're not about to be rejected necessarily. And with people with borderline personality disorder, they're so traumatized by abandonment and betrayal that they will try to figure out, they're hypervigilant about looking for signs of abandonment, betrayal, and in their effort to avoid being abandoned and betrayed, they will alienate others, hurt other people's feelings, control them, yell at them, demand things that will result in the individual actually leaving them, which feels abandoning. It's not necessarily abandoning. It's just someone saying, I don't know if I like this anymore. It could be abandoning, though, right? That does happen. Sometimes there's that self-fulfilling prophecy. Not that abandonment is the fault of the person with borderline, but you know what I'm saying. All right, well, let's adjourn there. I want to remind you all, since we're heading into the holiday season, that we have merch. The link should be below. Stacy recently, I don't know, within the last number of months, switched outfits, a different company that is a lot more reliable, and she got all the samples to make sure that everything is up to snuff, like this one. And but yeah, only if you care to. There's, I like the shirts. I like the tumblers. I like all the things. Their visors. I wear their visor regularly. And are we selling the visor? I don't know if we're selling the visor. Maybe I shouldn't advertise the visor. Stacey got a sample of the visor that I wear, so I don't know if we sell it. But I guess we can all find out together. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.